Welcome to the Revamp Blog. Today we have David, CEO of Tribalife Brand. David, welcome. Thank you for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
Perfect. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name is David. I'm CEO of Tribalife Brand, which is a clothing brand apparel. We specialize in streetwear. We started what we were doing back in 2013. First started off as a community service group, me and some of my friends, and we revamped it in 2015 and turned it into a clothing brand.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. So, Dave, tell us a little bit more about Tribalife Brand. Like, what made you want to start this brand?
Yeah, I mean, since I was a kid, I always wanted to be a designer. It was like one of those things that I wanted to do, but I knew that like it was like family and everything might get in the way with it. So I kind of put it on like in the back burner. After I graduated from college and I started to realize that, you know, a lot of the people who I saw doing well and whatever they were doing things they were actually passionate about versus being, you know, told what to do or you know, having family look at you anyway for not finishing. So I decided to, you know, what I was going to do is like something on the side while I still focused on other things. So it started off as that, and then things just kind of fell into place. And I saw that, you know, people were really liking it and took a liking towards it. Since I was a kid, I always used to go to stores and like look at different T-shirts and clothes, whatever. And I would say, you know, this would be better if they did it like this, or change this or change that, or tweak this in a different color. So coming into it as a designer, I kind of like had that I guess insider's opinion about a lot of fashion stuff. Since I've always been aware of it, I've always been a fan of it. So
that's nice.
Yeah.
So with your creative mindset and creative thought process, how are your users and consumer base resonating with your style of product?
They're liking it. You know, a lot of people who, when I first started, were just like friends and family, and actually I didn't even expect them to support it. You know, when I first started, I kind of held the motif. It was like, you know, well, friends and family, don't count them, you know, in what I'm doing, because like they either gonna support it or not. And I can't look at them any different way, but a customer will always be a customer. So I said if I just focused on the customers rather than the friends and family, it would be a little bit better, you know, business-wise, because I'm looking at a broader base. And from going forward, the designs that I put out, a lot of people were buying it outside of who weren't even friends and family eventually. So I started having a pretty, you know, pretty calm following, I'll call it, you know, enough to make me say, you know what, this is something I could see going forward, you know, it being prosperous.
Nice, that's great. But so I've always understood that, you know, the clothing market was very tough to get into. So how were you able to break into this market and make a name for yourself?
Yeah, you just had to come with the heat. And I think that's what people like the most. People like seeing, you know, new stuff. And it's even better when it's someone you know doing it. So it's like you can support something that's, you know, a friend is doing, and you can say you're supporting a friend, but at the same time, you're buying a shirt that you would actually want. And I think that's one thing that, you know, is I keep in mind whenever I'm going forward, that, and even as I'm watching other designers start and other people kind of continue that started before I did, I'm kind of noticing that they kind of have to always be coming with like the newest and the fashion trends and the latest things. Otherwise, like you said before, it will be very hard to stay relevant and stay consistent.
Yeah. So jumping into the entrepreneurship realm, how are you able to manage the lifestyle that you're living now, like, you know, the work balance lifestyle? Like, what is the day in the life of David?
Well, I work, I do my 8-hour job. Then when I got free time, I kind of look at Tribalife. I brought like other designers and other business savvy people onto the team, just so there's a lot more brains in the mix when it's time to plan and everything. So it's working out pretty well, I would think. Because when we look at, you know, what we got coming up next, it's like my portion is, at first when I first started, it was designer and CEO. And a lot of times it would conflict a little bit because as a designer, I would want to do something, but the CEO of me would be like, David, do you really think this would be the best idea? So I always saw myself talking to like outside people on different designs about different things. Like I was trying to get their feedback or something if I wasn't too sure about it. And that's when I learned, you know, like that's what a CEO is supposed to do. Right. As a designer, that's something that I need to accept, that there need to be other minds in the puzzle. Because if you're doing anything yourself, everything that you do may sound good to you, but
Right.
in reality, you know, it's the market that you're appealing to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we do here in Revan, like we're really focused on feedback and how feedback helps businesses. So all of the advice, all of the constructive criticism and the advice from mentors and people that you reached out, how has that changed your course of direction in the business?
Made me to be more wiser, and made me just also understand things. One thing that I always stuck out to me that people told me when I first started was that you shouldn't even expect to make profit your first year. And my first year, you know, I didn't make profit. So I kind of said, you know, it's not more so about like making a profit, it's just doing something that you actually love and enjoy doing it. And then you always have another year to make up for the last year. But it always starts with just having that acceptance that, you know, you're getting into something new. Being that I'm doing a clothing brand, you know, for the fact that I was even able to like match how much I spent, to me it was like, okay, I didn't lose anything, I didn't gain anything, but that's fine. Because if I can get that many people actually buying the merchandise, that Tribalife, you know, it was just a brand, you know, it doesn't have like a Nike or Adidas history behind it, it's just my own thing. If I can get that many people to buy it off of what I knew as a fresh entrepreneur, imagine me seasoned. So that's what I'm thinking in the future.
Okay, so I understand that, and I always wanted to understand that what entrepreneurs like yourself are doing, like those obstacles that you're running into, how are you overcoming them? Like, how did you overcome certain obstacles as a fresh entrepreneur? Like, sort of like the obstacles, like of certain failures, certain mistakes that you made, those things that are kind of pitting you in a strain where you're like, man, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Like, how did you overcome that, and what are some things that kept you going?
You just gotta have the drive. You know, like I always say that whatever you're doing in life, you gotta be passionate about it. Especially with this entrepreneur life, because if you're getting into it and you're not truly passionate about it, when things get hard, you're gonna quit. It's human nature. You know, nobody will consistently do something that is not working. You know, so it's when you're first starting, you have to have that inside. Like, you have to understand that it's going to take grit for this thing to pop off. It's not going to happen overnight. That dream is a pipeline dream. You know, you might see other people, maybe who started before you, started with you, or whenever they started, and you might see them getting a little further than you, right? And you know, you can't see that and be like, man, like maybe this isn't for me, or maybe this is like, nah. Because in the entrepreneur field, there's no way for that. Your business still has to keep going. You started something. You got to make sure whatever your goal was, you're getting there. It might take you 10 years, it might take you 20 years, whatever. You know, I feel like that's what keeps me going. It's like I didn't thought that, you know, I'm building of what could be in the future be the biggest fashion empire coming out of Baltimore.
Right, and I love that drive and ambition. So when individuals from Baltimore, you know, you're from Baltimore, I'm from Baltimore as well, and what advice would you provide to entrepreneurs, individuals trying to become into this realm of entrepreneurship in the same line of field? Like, because we understand that some people have came and tried to start clothing brands or some kind of brand from the inner city and they failed. So what is some advice that you could provide for them and to, you know, kind of follow in the footsteps you did?
I would say, just be aware of the environment you get into, have a target audience that you're trying to get into. If you just want to have something that, you know, people on the block wearing, or in town, you know, wearing that, then that's fine, you know. But if you want to get something that's outside of Baltimore and outside of the, you know, this area, and get something that people everywhere actually want, you got to keep that in mind when you're moving forward. Like, you have to think about the designs you're putting out, the concepts you're putting out, your marketing. You know, how are you approaching, you know, your selling your merchandise? Is it your friends and family? Is it social media marketing? Are you going out and physically meeting people and selling them at like vendor opportunities or pop-up shops? It's all about your approach. Because 9 times out of 10, if you have something that's worth buying, if you're putting it in someone's face, they're gonna buy it.
Right.
You know, especially, I think that nowadays it's a little easier because you have, you know, vendors accepted at events now. Like, people want vendors.
Right.
I think that's a popular thing that kind of got started like maybe 2 years ago, when people actually wanted to see vendors at events. And I mean, in terms of like, you know, social events, like you go into the club, not as vendors in the club. So there's different outlets that you can go to get your market, or to see the market and test some of your products out.
So what kind of projects, what new things are you working on for your brand now?
I got some heat coming.
Oh, you got some heat coming.
I got some heat coming, but can't say too much.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you got some new things working out.
Yeah.
So is there anything we can look out for in 2018?
Yeah, expect a whole new brand. Like everything we're doing right now is I like to say this first year was just like the trial period, just testing the waters a little bit. But in 2018, expect a more, how do I say this? Like the grown-up version of what we did last year. I'll say it like that.
Okay.
And it's gonna be done in a way where I think personally, is genius. It's literally like taking something that, you know, because currently what we got going on is so many designs, but it's how do we funnel it into the market?
Right.
Because we can't just put everything out there, because then it's like, you know, what's the point? You know, then we're out of everything. So it's like now that the tools are different minds together, I'm talking to different designers, things like that. It's like what's gonna be coming is gonna be what a lot of the stuff that was gonna be seen has been in the vault for like months, you know, coming on years, you know what I mean? Like at least a year, some of this stuff out. So now I finally get the platform, and I have the base to do it, you know?
Wow, man, I like that. I see the strategy, man. So how did you come up with all of these ideas and strategies? I know you have the creative mindset. Did you ever have a mentor jumping into entrepreneurship? Did you have any advice from anybody, or you just went into it for yourself? Like, how did you do that?
I think it was like entrepreneurship, networking, branding, all of that was things that I knew just from getting involved in different school events, you know, going to different leadership conferences. They would, you know, teach us about how to network and how to brand yourself. So I always found it interesting. But when I was in school, a lot of the things, really wasn't too many opportunities for me to apply it. So now that I'm starting my own business, it's a lot of the things about entrepreneurship that I learned, and a lot of that, you know, just the basic ways of how to, you know, get ahead. It's something that, you know, I'm now able to apply it.
Okay.
I think listening to a lot of your words, also other, you know, older people and I respect, you know,
Right.
It was definitely influential. So I think that in the long run, a lot of the people, my father, another great person who I listen to for things here and there, but he's definitely resourceful. A lot of people who I already had in my life kind of was already on that entrepreneur, you know, wave. So it was a lot of resourceful people to talk to.
Awesome. So what is one thing that you would leave your consumers with? What's one thing you want to tell them that's coming out?
Just know that I'm gonna always stay the same me, and I'm not gonna change no matter, you know, how successful things are. You know, I'm always gonna stay humble. I think a lot of brands, you know, they kind of forget that the people who support them at first, you kind of have to keep them at peace. So like, you know, everyone who follows me on Instagram or Twitter, I always post links to like different like monthly newsletters. So just if you catch that, definitely get on that. You know, as time goes on, we're gonna be giving different opportunities for people to like receive discounts and things like that on merchandise, just to kind of say thank you. So I think that's something that I want my customers to look forward to, more appreciation for, you know, support.
Dave, man, thanks for coming out. Thanks for coming out to the show today, man. We appreciate you. Can you let everybody know your social media, where they can find you at?
You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at Tribalife, that's Tribalife. Instagram, Twitter, also Facebook as well, Tribalife Brand. See y'all soon.
All right. Well, thanks for coming again, man. Appreciate it, man. Until next time, we'll catch you guys on Revamp. Take care.